Welcome to a short presentation about loudness here at the EBU booth. My name is Florian Kammerer from the Austrian Broadcasting Corporation, and I'm also the chairman of the P-Loud group of EBU, which has set at least 2 records, the biggest and most active group of EBU ever. Anyway, you all know the phenomenon called the loudness war, which we suffer from in radio and TV, where the method we use to normalize peaks has led to more and more compression because louder is better, and the louder station pops out when you dial your radio, and the louder commercial pops out, etc., etc. Why do we have that situation? It's because we use a method to level audio signals based on their peaks, peak normalization. That peak normalization paradigm gives an advantage to programs, to signals that are more compressed and louder and therefore pop out. So when I illustrate it with a slight, a little animation, that would be the permitted maximum level. And all those tools that come up now are representing programs with different loudness levels, and they all are aligned according to their peaks, which is fine, but which is not fine for the consumer that experiences all sorts of loudness levels all over the place. The loudness level would be represented by the center of gravity here, which would lie, for instance, here with the sword, here with the axe, here with the scissors, here with the arrow, etc., all over the place. That leads to all those loudness jumps, to the loudness problems we have. So we need a solution. And the solution for that problem is to change the leveling paradigm from peak to loudness. That we take the average loudness of a program as the reference to normalize it against other programs. Loudness normalization. This really signifies a true audio revolution, if you think about that from the whole chain, because all our leveling is now based on peaks. Through the whole chain, from production to distribution, everything is based on peaks. So if we change that to loudness, it means a change of everything. That's also something, our group set out with this really humble and modest goal. We want to change the audio world. So we have to set yourself high goals. And I think the chances were never better than today. And the reason for that we'll come to in a second. In this kind of representation, how would loudness normalization look like? You don't have a common peak level now, you have a common loudness level. And all the programs are now aligned according to their loudness level, to the center of gravity, which would mean in that case that all those tools would balance, not fall off on one side. And actually one manufacturer has also called the loudness level center of gravity. The peaks are all over the place. But who cares? The peaks don't contribute to your perception of loudness. It's the loudness, the average loudness level, that does that. So that would mean loudness normalization in that case. EBU has now the tools for your switch from peak normalization to loudness normalization. That just can't be done overnight. You need new meters, you need new working strategies, etc. And at the core of the tools stands the recommendation R128. That has been published 10 days ago, so it's really fresh. That gives you the cornerstones of the concept of loudness normalization, which can be freely downloaded from the internet, and I'll give you the URL later. What is R128? R128 basically defines 3 audio parameters. 3 audio parameters that for the first time fully characterize an audio signal. And those 3 are program loudness, the loudness range, and the maximum true peak level. Program loudness is one number that represents how loud is my program on average. And with program I mean one item. That can be a 15-second commercial, that can be a 20-minute soap opera episode, that can be a 2-hour feature film, one complete item. And this is represented by one number, that is the average loudness of this program. And that's arguably the most important one, because this number is then used for normalizing it to other programs, so that this number is the same for all the programs. Loudness range is the second descriptor or parameter that for the first time actually quantifies, again through one number, how dynamic is my program. Where are the loud parts, where are the soft parts? how much difference is there in between the loud and the soft parts, and you can use that descriptor now to decide whether you need dynamic range compression. And the third parameter is the maximum true peak level that we still need, of course, because we do not want to distort our signal chain. So we need to know the peak, but not only the quasi-peak, which we used in the past, 10 millisecond reaction time quasi-peak program meter, but we want to know the true peak of a signal. And there is also a way to do that through an oversampling true peak meter that really gives you the true peak indicator, and that is needed for measuring the true peak level of a signal. So we have now three parameters that really characterize an audio signal. Compared to the QPPM meter with this 10 millisecond reaction time, that didn't say us anything about the audio. It didn't say us something about the peak level, it didn't say anything about the loudness level, and it didn't say anything about the dynamic range. Now we have three parameters that actually do that and characterize the audio signal. The measurement with which program loudness is done, is measured, is metered, is based on an algorithm that has been defined and developed through careful testing from the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, BS 1770, infamous one around since a couple of years now. This algorithm defines how to objectively measure loudness, something that is by design inherently a subjective impression. So that's not trivial, because it is not possible to find an objective measurement that is perfect to measure subjective impression, because the subjective impression is dependent on many contextual parameters, whether you're male or female, old or young, whether you like it or not, very important on your perception of loudness, whether you have drunken 6 bottles of beer or only 2 the night before. Many different parameters define your perception of loudness. So it's not possible to find a perfect measurement, but as it's not possible, it's only necessary to find a measurement that is good enough. Good enough. And 1770, with a very simple weighting curve, very simple implementations, manufacturers like that, is astonishingly exact in representing a subjective impression. And that was the breakthrough, an international standardization on the measurement of loudness. That was the breakthrough that really let the loudness work explode. And that is also at the core of what we do in R128. So we are not in opposition to ITU 1770. On the contrary, that's our base measure, and we build upon that. So, measurement according to 1770. And in addition, we also define what is now the new normalization center. What is now the new number to which we normalize our audio signals? It's not the peaks anymore, it's the loudness level that of course is below the peaks. So what is now this new magic number? And the magic number is -23, and the unit is called LUFS, loudness units reference to digital full scale. -23.